The purpose of sale, according to the government, was mainly to improve financial discipline and to facilitate the modernization. Globalization is generally understood to mean integration of economy of the country with the world economy. As I told, it is a complex phenomena. Global Trade Organization to administer all multilateral trades agreement by providing equal opportunity to all the countries in international market for trading purpose. Hello everybody, I'm your Divya ma'am, Assistant Professor from Department of Commerce and Management, lecturing with Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru, the Temple of Excellence. Today I welcome you all for your Chapter 3, Session 2, the Chapter 3 headed as Economic Reform since 1991. So we have discussed the topics in the last class. Moving forward, the topics for today's discussion, we'll discuss about privatization, globalization, Indian economy during its reform and its assessment. So in the last class, we have completely discussed about the new economic policy that have been introduced during the time 1991. Why it was necessary? Because the country couldn't pay back the money what they have borrowed. So there was lot of deficit. The expenditure was more than the revenue. So they couldn't meet the demand of public. They couldn't serve the society properly. So the country was suffering inflation. So to eradicate all this problem, they approached the institutions, that is IMF, International Monetary Fund, and World Bank. So they have given certain financial assistance for our country, and they have asked to liberalize the policy, because since we had a strict industrial policy, there was only scope for public sector undertaking. We did not have much of the trade that was happening. Foreign exchange reserve was not there. There was no FDI. So all this was the major reasons the new economic policy was introduced. We have also discussed about liberalization. What is liberalization? It is nothing but liberalizing the policy, lessening the policy on the private sector that we have imposed. So we deregularize the policies that were imposed. That was liberalization was all about. The next topic, that is the main reform that they have introduced during 1991, was LPG, as we have discussed in the last class. The first was liberalization, the second is privatization and globalization, and those two topics, the major important topics that we are taking in today's class, that is privatization and globalization and its impact, and we are assessing it and how it has impacted our country. Moving forward, let us understand privatization word in a better way. Private, the word itself says private. It is nothing but the private sector undertaking. We are lessening the rules and regulations. So all the government sectors what we had, so everything was public sector undertaking. So now we want to privatize it. So that is called as privatization. It implies shedding of ownership or management of government-owned enterprise. There was completely government-owned enterprise. There was no much scope for the public sector undertaking. There was much scope for public sector undertaking, but there was no scope for private sector. The government, the ownership and the management was by the government. So they tried to give it for the private sector, the scope way for private sector. So that is called as privatization. Government companies are converted into private companies in two ways. Government companies, what is privatization? Government companies have to convert into private companies. So that is privatization. By two ways it will become privatization. Government company will become public company, will become private company by two ways. The first way, by withdrawal of the government from the ownership and the management of public sector companies. By withdrawing by giving up to the private sector. By withdrawing means taking back the ownership or management by the government sector by giving it to the private sector. Second, by outright sale of public sector company, by selling away the public sector companies, by giving the stake, by giving the shares, by giving the equity of the public sector to the private sector, by selling away the company. One is while withdrawing the power, that is ownership and the management that the government companies had. The second is what they do, they outright the sale of public sector companies. Privatization of the public sector enterprise by selling off part of equity of public sector enterprise to the public is known as disinvestment. Very important point, very important 1 mark question. What is disinvestment? When you sell off your part of equity to the public sector enterprise to the public, so what you do, selling away the equity, selling away your shares, it is called as disinvestment. The purpose of sale according to the government was mainly to improve financial discipline and to facilitate the modernization. Why the sale of equity was happening to the public is because we want to modernize the enterprise, because it was entirely depending on the government sector undertaking to run the company. The second is to have a financial discipline, to have more money inflow, they did this. It was also envisaged that private capital and managerial capabilities could be effectively utilized to improve the performance of public sector undertaking. So they wanted to improve the public sector undertaking, private sector. So they wanted to improve this. That's why they did privatization. Next, with respect to industry and trade, what was the thing happened? The government envisaged that privatization could provide strong thing to the inflow of FDI. If we want more FDI, in order to have a FDI into our country, it is important to allow the public sector to convert them into private sector. We want private sector that is performing in our India. Why? Because when other companies, when other countries take the stake, take the equity or take the shares of our public sector, our companies, they have a right over our companies. So in order to have that right, they will allow the foreign direct investment. To allow the foreign direct investment, our main objective was privatization. The government also made attempts to improve the efficiency of public sector undertakings by giving them autonomy in taking managerial decision. For instance, some public sector undertakings have been granted special status as Maharatnas, Navaratnas and Mini Ratna. So this was the industry and trade. Next, let us talk about globalization. What is globalization? The word itself says integrating the economy, bringing world together, integrating the economy. So we want the one world, one nation. For this, globalization was introduced. We are making our India global level. So we are reaching our products to all across the world. We are opening up the borders now. So that is called as globalization. Today, the Lay's, chips, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, what products you are having is because of what? Privatization, liberalization and your globalization. Today, people are working from India. They are going for the other countries and they are working. That is because of globalization. With respect to goods and services, with respect to trade, with respect to human resource, everything have been all across the world. So we can access the resources, access the technology all across the world. So that is possible only through globalization. Globalization is generally understood to mean integration of economy of the country with the world economy. As I told, it is a complex phenomena. It is an outcome of set of various policies that are aimed at transforming the world towards greater independence and integration. We want independence. We want integration, togetherness. So that's why globalization was introduced. It involves creation of network and activities transcending economic, social and geographical border. We are integrating the geographical border. We are making all together. We are having the cross-border transaction through globalization. Globalization attempts to establish links in such a way that happening in India can be influenced by events happening miles away. So it is turning the world into one whole, or creating the borderless world. So today what we are mailing here, it is reaching the world, all across the world. Today at a single place we are sitting and we are talking with our employees. So we are having a Google Classroom. We'll teach you online. How is it possible? So today you're sitting at this place and you are watching a video in your different place. So how is it possible? It's because of globalization. We want to make the borderless world. That's why globalization was introduced. The main concept that comes under globalization is outsourcing. So when you ask your friends, when you ask your brother, when you ask your sisters, they'll tell you, what are you working for? We are working for US company, we are working for UK company, we are an Australian process, so we are working for them. So what is outsourcing? So how can a person sit in India work for UK? So it is nothing but outsourcing. Out means, it is outside. Sourcing means you're taking away the employee from outside for your work. That is called as outsourcing in a simple word. So today you're sitting at your place. So what the other foreign countries they do, they outsource you. So they take you as an employee for their work. So they pay you money. Why is this? Because of the advantage what we have is the population. The second is the standard of living is very low, and they can pay as a less salary than the salary they pay for their country people. So this is the reason they outsource. Outsource means they take the people, they source the people from outside the nation for their work to be completed. So that is called as outsourcing in a simple word. Outsourcing. A company hires regular service from external sources. So what they do, they external. So we are external sources. So we are Indians and the UK people take us for job. So they provide us employment. We are external sources for them. So external sources, they take up the work from us and pay the money. So mostly from other countries which was previously provided internally within the country, like legal advice, computer service, advertisement, security, each provided by respective departments of the company. So each department, so these are the few of the departments that they take, that they outsource the employee from different nations. So this is only, today we are having lot of job opportunities. So we are working for different shifts. Why is because of the other countries that is providing us the job. That is only possible through globalization. As a form of economic activity, outsourcing has intensified in recent times because of the growth of fast mode of communication, particularly the growth of information technology. Many of the services such as voice-based business process, popularly known as BP or call center, record keeping. So all those jobs, for example, if we want to take, we have the rapid communication that is growing all across through internet. We can connect at one place, and the change in the IT revolution, information revolution technology, what we are adopted today. So all these have given an advantage for the other companies to outsource the people from our country and provide. So all the BPO, KPO, call centers and record keeping, to do all this work, they rely on in our India for the providing the employment opportunity. So next topic, main topic that we have to discuss in globalization is WTO. World Trade Organization was founded in 1995 as a successor organization, as the previous organization, that is General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, GATT. So this is 1 mark question for you. So earlier it was General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, GATT, and now it has been changed as WTO. It was established, which was founded in 1995. So GATT was established in 1948 with 28 countries as a owning of globalization. So earlier it was GATT, now it is WTO, World Trade Organization. So they look after the global trade. Global Trade Organization to administer all multilateral trades agreement by providing equal opportunity to all the countries in international market for trading purpose, to provide the equal opportunity for all traders to have a good rapport with the other countries. WTO, World Trade Organization, is a basis wherein which provides the international market for all the traders all across the world when you are doing a multilateral trade. WTO expects to establish a rule-based trading regime in which nations cannot place arbitrary restrictions on trade. So what the nations will do, they have their own restrictions, they have their own rules with respect to trade. So when you become the member of WTO, all together they negotiate the price, the quantity and the trade policies. That is what they negotiate and bring peace and harmony among the different nations. So when you have one country itself, we are difficult to manage, but when we have a different countries all together to work, it will be difficult. So to make a negotiations among the countries and to make a good trade among the different nations, WTO plays an essential role in maintaining a good trade policy. So next, moving forward, to ensure optimum utilization of world resources and to protect the environment, WTO plays a vital role. To protect our environment, to use the optimum utilization of resources, WTO is essential. WTO agreement covers trade in goods as well as trade in services to facilitate international trade. Earlier it was only, we are provided only emphasis on the goods, but now at this equal importance, services also contributing for the GDP, gross domestic product. So that is why services also given equal importance. So your WTO looks after goods as well as trading of services. Through removal of tariffs as well as non-tariff barriers and providing greater market access to all member countries. So what it does, it removes all the tariffs and non-tariff barriers and provide the greater access to the all countries. All countries have to trade, all countries should get the equal opportunity to sell in the market. As an important member of WTO, India has been in the forefront of framing fair global rules, regulations and safeguard, advocating the interest of the development of the world. So as a India developing country member of WTO, say they always think about fair global rules in developing our country. India has kept its commitment towards liberalization of trade made in the WTO by removing quantity restrictions on imports and reducing tariff rates. So they have reduced the tariff rate, quantity restrictions, everything they have removed as per the rules and regulations they have made. So they are following. So after this Indian economic reforms, what was the changes that they have brought? What is an assessment that we can see? After the implementation of new economic policy, agriculture production has been declined. Why it has been decreased? Because of the rapid increase in the service sector and rapid increase of the industries. When you gave the importance for all the people, we are the backbone of our agriculture, we do agriculture. But the other countries, when we opened up the economy, they started setting up their industries in our country. So there was a decline during the decrease in the production of agriculture products. So there is a fluctuation in industrial sector. Service sector growth increased, as I have told you. Another important result in increasing foreign direct investment and foreign exchange reserve was increased. Reforms in agriculture. New economic policy reforms did not benefit the agriculture. Public investment have decreased. The farmers have faced international competition. As a result, cost of production, quantity agriculture output came down. So there was a decline in the production of agriculture. But reforms in industry, if we want to compare, as a result of new policy, the demand for domestic goods come down, it had to slow down the sector. So the demand for the domestic, why? Because when we have a China made products, we are getting it a lesser price. What we do, we buy China products. So there was a very less demand, and the agriculture sectors also, the production was declined. So this was the thing that we see. So when it comes to conclusion part of your unit 3, what so we have discussed, it is the economy was facing problem of declining foreign exchange, goods was not there, there was high exports. So what it had made the India to change its policy. So India changed its policy, it's 1991, and due to this they had a lot of financial crises and pressure. So they took the help from the IMF and World Bank. So and later they started having a proper policies in the economy. So they took the decision of liberalization, privatization and globalization. The major reforms were taken up. So the external sector reforms include foreign exchange deregulation and import liberalization was taken up. So liberalization, they started liberalizing the rules and regulation. Then they introduced the globalization. Private sector came into the existence. Earlier it was only the scope for public sector undertakings, and this investments was there, and there was lot of measures that they have taken for liberalization, as we have discussed in the previous slide. Then the country wanted to face the world, so they took a decision of globalization, opening up of the economy. They wanted to integrate the economy of the country. So in among the globalization, we can see many other changes that have many measures that they took. That was, one is outsourcing the job, and WTO played a very important role, very vital role in negotiating the trade among all the other nations. So that's what the topics that we have discussed in today's class. So that's it, my dear students. Hope this session and the unit was very interesting. It was all about the new economic policy 1991. We have discussed about liberalization, the measures of liberalization, privatization, what is privatization, and globalization. And when this was introduced, what was the situation of our agriculture and our industry. So we have discussed all these topics. So keep waiting for the next unit, that is your unit 4, chapter 4, that we have to discuss. So smile is the biggest jewel, people. Keep smiling. Thank you.